All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the December 8th meeting of the Conservation Commission of Peabody. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law 30A, paragraph 18, and the governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on number of people that may gather in one place as extended on June 15, 2021, with the governor signing Senate Bill number 2475, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, allowing public bodies greater flexibility in utilizing technology in the conduct of meetings under the open meeting law. This meeting of Peabody Conservation Commission is conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. No in-person attendance of the members or members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so on matters not requiring a public hearing, we will post on the city's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive recording as soon as possible. We do post on the city website or on PAT's website the video of the meetings. Everybody that's, I can't see who all is here besides us, but I'm going to start the meeting with update on the Community Preservation Committee's filing on lakes and ponds. We are currently in possession of a contract to write the NOI. We have the NOI, and I will pursue getting the mayor to sign all this stuff off this week, tomorrow or Friday. The intent of the signing is mostly to hold a place in the fall so that Solitude can come in and clean out Elginwood Pond. And that's where we sit. The NOI is a universal NOI for all lakes and ponds in the city, plus Lake Sonntag. And it does this so that anytime we need to hydro rake or mechanically harvest, we don't have to go back to the board and start over again. It's there for the city to use. Each lake and pond will have its own calculations and its own, requirements, and that'll be, that'll come before Concom when it happens. So that's where we are with that. I guess there was a tree request, but I'm not conscious of it at 269 Lynn Street. Anybody know anything about that? I mean, given Lucia's not here, so. All right. If I'll just put that off until next month. Requests for determination of applicability. Item number 1, continued public hearing on a request for determination of applicability is submitted by Anthony Capicelli, Hayes Engineering, for Mills 58-2 LLC, care of Edward Greeley, applicant owner. The proposed work is the construction of a parking area and stormwater infiltration I got a call from Julie Daigle yesterday requesting this be continued to January of next year. Do we need to make a motion for that? Or just raise the hands?
I think we should make a motion.
Okay, who wants to make the motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Motion to continue item number 1 to our next meeting.
Second?
Yeah, second.
Okay. Drew, you want to do a roll call and take it down?
Yeah. Who's doing all that
Well,
work?
Drew is sitting in for Lucia tonight.
Oh,
I mean, I can take it down. I was more sitting in to run the Zoom meeting, but
You want to just do a show of hands?
We can do show of hands.
I mean, unless you want me to, I mean, I can take a roll call. I have no idea what the voting order is, though.
It doesn't matter. Just go by the pictures on the wall.
show.
Uh, Yep, I guess so. Show of hands, it's unanimous.
It's unanimous. Okay. Item number 2, continued public hearing for request for termination of applicability submitted by Greg Hotchmuth, Williams and Sparages for JDT Group LLC. The applicant is seeking confirmation of wetland boundaries, sensitive areas. The application is for a verification of wetland boundaries, confirmation only, and not for the development of said lot. The property is known as 0 Newbury Street, map 88, lot 07, Peabody, Mass. They've requested to be continued to January also. We get a motion on that?
So
Motion to
move.
continue item number 2.
Item number 2.
January.
A second.
Show of hands. Arthur, show of hands. Unanimous. Item number 3. Continue public hearing on a notice of intent submitted by VHB for CV 13 Corwin LLC, care of Cargill Ventures, Kevin Donahue. The property owner is Stall USA, Inc. The applicant proposes development of a commercial and industrial use property. The property is known as 13 Corwin Street, map 92, lot 006 in Peabody. There is offer that we look at items 4 at the same time because it's the same. I think no, it's not. I'm sorry. There was 0. I thought there were 2 more in this pile, but
Well,
okay.
there's a certificate of compliance for Corwin Street, items 5 and 6.
Thank you. And I'm going to approach all of them the same way, or to do it all at once, if that's okay with everybody. But I have this stack of paper from Will that, hi, Bruce.
Hello.
You there? Hi.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Into requirements from Will Pollots, our city engineer on this property. And he specifically talks about the following comments. Stormwater, now I'm reading this so it's into the record. Be advised the site is expected to experience up to 8 inches of ponding during peak hour of a 10-year storm event. The stormwater within the subsurface infiltration bed crests to an elevation of 72.8 during a 100-year storm event. The peak is above the controlling wear of 72.3 in their DMH 6. The wear height should either be raised above the elevation or the drain manhole needs to be modeled in the HydroCAD calculations. The applicant shall add an additional 4 inspection ports to the retained system for a minimum of 6 ports. The applicant shall add an additional 3 inspection ports to the ADS Storm Tech infiltration system for a minimum of 4 ports. And the applicant shall call out what section sizes of Old Castle precast culverts will be used to ensure unimpeded flow through the culvert. These are mechanical things that Will has offered that would facilitate no flooding. The proponent, as I understand it, is looking to take water coming downhill onto their property. They're running it around the property into a storm a collection system that will take care of drainage and treatment, because some of the stuff is not clean. And the concern, I think, is whether the existing pipes that are there are big enough to handle the water load. And that's an additional, we need some additional inspection ports. There's a drafting error at the proposed contour of elevations 7.2, 7.3, and 7.4 south of the retainage system, and the grading and drainage plan, on the grading and drainage plan, C3.01. The retainage system is going to hold back water that's coming in and release it at a later time. The annotation of proposed contour 76 is drafted over a call out of the box culvert. The applicant shall address recommendations with their peer review letter dated November 29 attached to this memo. The next part of this is
Through the chair?
Yep.
Through the chair. So we're discussing information that was written November 29th, which wasn't given to us prior to the close of the meeting that
Right.
we require, and the public, so it seems like a lot of the documentation we have, but the public doesn't. And I don't, I know if we should be continuing to discuss this information without having the proper notice given.
okay. I mean, this memo that I'm referring to is written.
Right, I know. But
was
the
written
public
by-
doesn't have that. Yeah. I mean, they don't have access to that information.
They will, and I'm just suggesting that until we answer all these questions, we take it up next month.
Well, is the, to the
Well,
chair,
that makes
But
through the chair. We have received a peer review comments for the project, of which petitioner has addressed and responded to them. And then went back to peer review, and peer review looked at it and made their comment on the responses from the petitioner. So I think all the questions have been answered affirmatively or negatively. So I don't know if the petitioner wants to go through these and show if anybody's in attendance who wants to see this, to go through the plans and point out some of these changes or improvements or identification of and answering of some of these questions. I don't know if Will has whether he's seen it, but I don't think we should just continue this. At this point, I think the petitioner should be able to address the comments. I've gone through them all, and I'm not saying I'm probably not going to close the hearing, but certainly the questions can be discussed, or the neighbors can have questions. Since last time we just dismissed and would not, we didn't have the time to review this stuff, but now we've had it for a little while. So I've gone through it, and most of the comments have been answered and reviewed by the peer reviewers. But there are still several of those comments that I would say haven't been answered to the in such a way that the peer review is saying they're all set now. So there's still a bunch of questions that they feel they should be addressed further. So, I don't know if the petitioner is here tonight, if they want to speak on this matter, or
I can offer that they are. Karen Staffier from VHB, Kevin Donahue is here, as well as Jack Kelty. Would the commission like me to allow them to speak?
Sure. Yes. I mean, one thing I have to say is the letter I'm reading is from Will Pollots, and it was dated December 7th. And it's yesterday's letter, so it's not something that we could even review in time.
Right, through the chair again. And part of the information, has to be documented and submitted by the applicant to come back. So again, there's a lot of outstanding issues and everything has to be finalized in a particular written format, which we don't have.
Correct.
And so I don't feel, we can discuss things, I guess, and I don't even know if this has really been opened up to the public.
Is anybody here from the public room?
I don't recall if it's been open to the public, but
That's I couldn't tell you who's here. There are other people in attendance. I don't know if they're here for other items or not.
This is Karen Staffier from VHB. I just wanted to introduce my voice. I don't appear to have video capabilities, but I am here now in the meeting with you guys.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Am I
I don't know
Mr. Chairman, Jack, we can hear you as well. Yep.
Okay, great.
Evening, everyone. Kevin Donahoe also joining.
Yep. Now
Wait.
is Donahue with you guys as well?
Yes.
Yes.
Kevin Donahue, myself, and Karen Staffier. And what I'd like to do is,
Sorry,
I'd like
is Tim Donahue here with you as well?
Kevin, I'm here. Yes. Can you hear me all right?
Yep, there's a Kevin, but there's also a Tim Donahue that's
Oh, I'm
wanting to
sorry.
speak.
no, not,
No.
They're raising their hand, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if they're a member of the public or not. Would you like me to unmute them?
Sure. Let's hear who they are. Just they have to identify their name and their address.
Well, through the chair, Stu, I wouldn't introduce the public at this point.
Okay.
They're invited after either
Okay.
we speak and or the petitioner speaks.
Okay.
We don't want people, I would recommend not having abutters or people who's there who aren't either petitioners or the commission to speak on a matter that they haven't heard testimony, like I say, because their questions may be answered.
Idea. Okay.
so may I, Mr.
Go ahead,
Chairman,
Jack.
Jack Kelty?
Yep.
I'd like to sort of put in relation the sequencing of these matters. We had filed with the Conservation Commission some months ago. We triggered a peer review. We simultaneously filed with the Planning Board. And so we were assigned the same peer review team for both conservation and for the Planning Board. The reviews have been completed. The Horsley Witten review was sometime around November 29th. We responded to that. That matter was those materials were responded to shortly before your last meeting. At that meeting, Will Pollots hadn't had an opportunity to review our comments. Since that time, he has reviewed not only our responses to those original comments, but then also had the opportunity to review materials as recently as last week that he has commented on under yesterday's date. Yesterday's date, he supplies a comment sheet in which VHB, Karen Staffier, who's here this evening, can go through all of those. Those are the matters that Mr. Chairman Lazaris had read into the record. We have, Karen is more than willing to go through those. And what Will has done is given us a review that suggests that if the board is of a mind to issue the order of conditions, then he has provided us with conditions that he's asked that they be carried. There are 6 conditions. Although they're numbered somewhat differently, they total 6 conditions in which the Public Services Department is telling us that, or telling the commission, that if you're of a mind to approve this and issue an order of conditions, then please add these 6 conditions. I think that it might be appropriate for Karen to address the overview of the conditions that are the comments that arose on November 29th, but then limit it to our most recent comment, which is a letter in your packet dated, well, I guess it's in the Conservation Commission dated yesterday or today. But with that, I would turn it over to Karen to.
Certainly. So focusing, I guess we can kind of start with conceptually, there were no new issues raised after the first peer review resulting from our response. So by that, I mean that there were some clarifications to the original comments on how we responded to those comments, but there were no additional issues raised. And most of the remaining comments that you read into the record, Mr. Chairman, are fairly kind of mundane. Some of them relate to issues with the plotting, of the hard copies that the city engineer is reviewing. So I'd be more than happy to run through each of those comments and how we're responding to them. We didn't want to overwhelm you guys with a response letter, because I know as soon as you write comment, response, it looks like a lot. Most of these things in the revision today are, we turn the changes around in a couple hours. So it was mostly like drafting things and little clarifying notes. So it's not a big, difference between what we submitted back in before the November hearing. So the first comment was regarding the ponding on the parking area and the 10-year event. That's true. The existing outfalls to the brook are limited. And there's a fair amount of stormwater that comes on the site from offsite. So while we are doing what we can to minimize imperviousness and that sort of thing, and some of the larger, more intense storm events during that peak, especially the peak hour of the storm, there will be some limited ponding in the parking lot, which will then dissipate through the drainage system when the peak is subsided.
Can I ask a question about that?
Certainly.
My concern is that the calculations that were made are based on historical data. And you can tell me that there's a new standard, but the issue is if you get 8 inches or more of rain at one time, that parking lot is going to be flooded. And it's going to overrun any of the storm drainage equipment you have proposed. And my issue is there's stuff going into the river at that point, into Goldwaith Brook, that we have no idea what it is or what it could do. And certainly if it's a truck terminal, you've got all kinds of oil and other contaminants that are there that could be normally captured by the storm management system that you're proposing. But in the case of with climate change, I'm concerned that you guys won't be able to keep up with it. That's my concern.
Understandable. I don't think that there's anything especially unique about this site with respect to that situation that can occur in larger events, where, the drainage system is designed, most of the pollutants that occur in the stormwater are in that kind of first flush when it starts raining, and the pollutants on the surface, whether it's a particulate or a nutrient or whatever, or sediment, they tend to get captured in that initial flush, not in the, later storm event. I don't see this as having a meaningful impact or change on what the brook will experience in the larger storm events.
But you're not arguing, I guess, funding of up to 8 inches or more during significant rain event.
I guess to your point, though, that ponding is at the locations where the catch basins are. That's not all over the site. So
Okay,
that basically means there's like a gutter. And here I'm on video talking with my off video talking with my hands. So you can imagine me showing you a gutter with my hands here. There's a gutter on each side of the parking lot, on each truck bay, where, like in a road, you know, where the ponding would occur at the lowest point. And that water will sit there in those low points, and then, you know, fill up as the peak comes, and then discharge through the drainage system as the peak subsides.
okay. And those
Karen, is it-
calculations have been given to Will.
Oh, yes.
Correct. Will and the peer reviewer as part of the November, I'm sorry, the October submission, the submission just prior to the November hearing.
So I think one of the points is that we're not a cup that fills with water, and your concern then triggers that we overtop, the cup overtops, and everything spills into the brook.
Right.
That's not the case, and that's not the point that Will was trying to make. Will was, and I think Karen has said, there are areas in the parking lot itself which are intended to pond while we're waiting for the catch basin systems to function properly. So they become almost kind of a surplus capacity for the actual basins themselves.
That's right.
Am I right? Yeah.
You're right. It's almost like an extension of the detention that can occur. It's like a pond, temporary, it's very small
It's
surface
intentional.
pond. Yeah, deliberately. Yep.
Okay, take on number 2. The stormwater. Go
And
ahead.
I did speak with Will about number 2 this morning. He and I actually talked around 8:30 or 9 this morning, and kind of we walked through all the comments and how I was planning to address them. And he didn't raise any concerns to me verbally. Stormwater within the infiltration bed crests, it's about whether we should we model the weir and drain manhole 6. So the way the recharge system or the infiltration system works is the water comes in to drain manhole 6, and then it can either go out go into the isolator row for enhanced treatment, or go over the weir and into the system in the higher flow events. That whole system functions as one, and it's not standard practice to model that DMH6 weir. And I explained that to Will, and he seemed comfortable with that. I did explain to him that we modeled the weir and drain manhole 7, because that's the weir that controls the water quality volume, which is the recharge that you are achieving through the infiltration system is what provides the water quality. So that weir is set to do that. And this paragraph, I wrote a paragraph in here, but it basically explains that there is some nuance to the model that we've tweaked and provided for record, but no plan change associated with just clarifying how that drain manhole 7 outlet pipe will function. And that made sense to him when I spoke with him. I know I'm putting words in his mouth, but there's really no plan change at all associated with that clarifier.
And then 3 and 4 were to add inspection sites and basins, and
Yep.
Karen, we've added those.
We've done that. Number 5, Will and I spoke through, the exact design of the precast will come from the manufacturer of the system, but we've added notes to clarify and make sure that when it comes to certificate of compliance, they'll be on the hook for exactly what we intend, which is a hydrologic connection. Comment 6 was about a drafting error. It's not visible on the PDF, but apparently the hard copy that Will was reviewing had some sort of a weird black smudge or smear in that area that made it so he couldn't read it. So he looked at the PDF and said, oh, this looks fine. So that was number 6. Number 7 was just a text conflict with the contour label. We've addressed that. And then there were 3 outstanding comments from Horsley Witten. The first was that we had not completely clarified the outlet pipes directions for drain manhole 37. We've made sure that those labels are on the updated plan that you have. Again, no design changes or at all, just clarifying notes.
Through the chair, could you put that drawing up on the screen so we can see that? Because like you said, there are several peer review comments that have not been addressed in accordance with the to the liking of the Horsley Witten, and this is one of them. So if you could show us on the plan where that is, it might make this go faster.
How do we do that? Drew, can you put anything up?
Yep, I'm pulling it up now. Yep.
Okay.
You want
Can you give
C401?
that?
Yep. if you just
C401
ever
has that.
just- Yep. Let me just pull it up quickly. This is the revised plans.
Yes.
Sorry, it's just loading.
We talking about the December 7th,
Correct.
yesterday.
The December 8th plans, responding to the December 7th.
Oh,
letter.
So I am just trying to go through files. It should be in the NOI. I don't know if I have these plans. I have the November 16th, the plan from November 12th.
Is that the plan that's corrected? Is that the corrected plan?
The corrected plan is the one that I emailed today. Drew, you have it from my email
I don't.
from earlier today.
Okay, so
I was under the impression you were acting as the clerk for the commission, but in Lucia's absence, so my apologies.
I have that up right now. I'm pulling that up. Just taking a quick second. All right. Now we're
Through the chair again, this is the issue I brought up initially, is that, we have the email from today, but the public doesn't have the email they don't really know what we're talking about. And we're going through all this, which is valuable information to go through. But again, we just received this today in the email, I think. Maybe I received it. Did I receive? When did we receive the email? Was it today or yesterday?
I received an email from Will that was dated yesterday, the 7th. And I certainly have not had a chance to go through everything in it yet, because it's there's pages from Horsley Witten and there's pages from the peer review people. And it's like, that's important. And World Tech Engineering was the
See, whatever's in the OneDrive is accessible to the public and to us. But this wasn't submitted in time, and there's there's an issue there for me.
Hi, Karen. This is
for
the
me
one that
too.
you were looking for.
Yes, if you scroll down to the bottom, towards the bottom of the page, there's a manhole. It's in the dead middle. You can see a pipe arrangement that's just to the left of the big circular tank that's going to be removed. I don't know if you zoom in on the bottom half of the plan,
Yeah, it's right
near the
in
brook, there's like a little squiggle that says flow on the existing conditions. that manhole right there is the manhole in question. So you can see drain manhole 37 was the one that previously some of those just said out instead of 11 or 14. Now each of those, you know, for example, the first invert has then a label, has the invert equals, then the invert itself, then a description, and that description describes very clearly, as the commenter is asking for, what direction or what structure the pipe is coming from or going to. So for example, that first one, it says invert, I can't quite read it, and then it says 11. That means that's the pipe coming from structure 11 into drain manhole 37.
Yeah, that's my plans show that. The plans that I have, I have these plans. So the plan I'm looking at shows on the drainage, on the utility plan, that is the utility plan, shows drain manhole 37 with the outlet pipe shown in the direction.
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have this because I reviewed this stuff today, and and correct me if I'm, maybe you can help me. Okay, so Will had his comments, and then there's all the stormwater, all the stormwater management review comments, and that you went directly to standard number 2 with regard to the drain manhole. So you picked up on this, of all the comments, if I can simplify, the comment from the peer reviewers, and then the response by VHB, and then the review from peer reviewers addressing what the response was. And this was the first comment and response that the outcome wasn't Horsley Witten has no further comments.
That's correct. We distilled from their 8 pages,
Right.
the 3 things that did not have that description at the end.
I'm assuming that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Will is in concurrence with the peer reviewers, and their response, unless Will had some other, wanted something different, would be satisfactory. So this was the first comment, that the outcome wasn't that Horsley Witten had no further comments. Okay, they're still looking for clarification, but the plan does show the outlet pipe and the direction. Am I answering that correctly?
I believe you are. Yep.
Okay. Okay, and so if I could, not that I'm trying to speed this up, if I could simplify it.
Yeah, please.
Going through all of these comments, there's quite a few. I think I come up with eight of the comments that would not, the final answer from Horsley Witten was no further comment. They still had either a comment or what they had asked for has not been provided. And those, if you wanted to jump to those, that one being the first one, you can stop me if you want, if I'm speaking out of turn here, but so standard number 2 was the first one where there was not a final no comment from Horsley Witten. The next one wouldn't come until you get down to standard number 3. And so are you going to respond to these? You're going to respond to these rather than me read them? Maybe you should.
Sure. So standard 3, no further comment, no further comment, no further comment, no further comment.
Yeah, so I know standard number 3. Horsley Witten had no further comment. I guess the answer was about having soil testing. And the applicant has
Yes.
agreed for additional soil testing prior to construction of the subsurface infiltration system per comment number 6 of the applicant's response. And Horsley Witten has no further comment.
Yep.
So the reason why I'm highlighting that to myself is there additional soil testing to be done? And if so, is this saying that both Will and the peer reviewer are okay with conditioning that?
Yes, because it is one of Mr. Pollots' suggested conditions.
Okay. Okay, then I think I'm on the right path here.
Yep, I think you are too.
So I guess, Arthur, I think these comments and these plans have been updated, at least the ones that I see in front of me. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes.
Okay, and that if you open up the PDF that Will had provided as part of that letter dated yesterday, in there down the bottom, there's 2 PDFs, one from Horsley Witten and one from Horsley Witten and one from WorldTech.
WorldTech.
Yeah.
Yep.
And of all those comments, there's like 8 from Horsley Witten that probably should be discussed, and there's about, I think, 6 or 7 from WorldTech that should be discussed, even though those aren't really our jurisdiction, but maybe they could affect the drainage, perhaps, depending on how some of those mitigating site distance issues are addressed. So
I have the memo if you would like me to share that memo on my screen.
yeah, it might be good for.
What's the date of that memo?
November
Yeah,
29th.
No, it says December 7th.
Oh, the memo from Will is right. But
Yeah.
this letter was completed November 29th.
From
Horsley Witten.
From
Yeah.
Horsley Witten, yeah.
And WorldTech.
Right. So sequentially, we responded to them and were we tried to bring that forward last meeting, and we were late in terms of deadlines for response. So we continued the matter. Since then, Will has taken Horsley Witten's, WorldTech's, and his own, condensed them into this December 7th memo, which provides that if the various boards are going to act, here's the conditions. He gives 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 conditions to the Concom, and then 1, 2, 3 very specific conditions for the planning board, predominantly separated by traffic.
I don't see the conditions from Will. Is that in the,
It's on page 2 of what we're seeing here.
oh, but there's 8 items.
There's
There you
8
go.
items
No,
under stormwater.
They're right there, right there. Department services requests that any decision issued by the conservation
right.
reflect the
So
following
if you count
conditions.
them, actually, Michael, if you count them, there's 6.
Wait, where,
Because-
I think
They're
I'm in the
like-
same file as you, but I don't,
I see it, but
page 2, all right, page
they're
1.
numbered, the numbering is 1, 2, 3, 4, 9.
And the
next one
reason
is-
for that is because up above, when he's discussing traffic, he goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and then he begins again 1, 2, 3, 4, but then jumps, it would be 9. So it may be, so all I'm trying to say is that there's really only 6 conditions that distill down to stormwater management.
Oh, okay, I see that, all right. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 9.
Yeah, and then there's
10,
one on the
and
next
10.
page, 10.
All right, now I get it. Okay,
So that's 6 total, really.
so the soil testing. Okay, good. All right, good. Okay, now we can move forward. All right, let's go to the, let's see. So we're on standard number 2, which is comment number 1, or condition number 1. All right.
This is storm management review still.
Yes. I mean, I'm sorry, yeah, so the standard on, oh boy, on stormwater standard number 3, the comment about soil testing is in there, and that was one of the ones that Will had put in there. So that answers that. And then down to employee parking, about the LUPO. So
Want me to
there's,
address that one?
yes, please.
So we provided a clarifying water quality volume calculation that serves as the basis of that system size. And they're simply requesting an additional, more detailed printout from the model that we have so they can double check that the water quality volume that we're saying we're providing is providing. They want to just see the detail. So we've provided that, or we're agreeing to provide that, and it was in the email from this morning attached to my revised letter.
Now, is that one of Will's comments?
It was, I would consider this to be one of the ones that falls under the heading of please address the outstanding comments in Horsley Witten's letter. That was his number 8 on
Number
his
8,
list.
Yes. So it was
The
kind of
last one on the
carryover.
second page, yeah.
Which one is that now? So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 9.
Bottom of Will's page 2, item number 8 under stormwater, where it says the applicant shall address Horsley Witten's group recommendations for their peer review letter dated November 29th.
Oh, so that's kind of a general statement then.
Yeah, it's a catch-all. Like if there's anything left to clarify below, please clarify. And when I went through, as you just did, and saw the items, many of them, if most of them say no further action required. A couple
Yeah.
of them acknowledge a commitment that we made through our November response that Will has captured in the conditions that he suggests. And then there are only those 3 that actually are sort of plan clarifications or printing of that report from the model for record that were listed. That the second of which is the one we just discussed, which is just printing the stage storage for the system, recharge system.
I just don't want, I want to make sure we don't miss a a condition. So then I think I would like to go through the Horsley Witten peer review comments that do not end with Horsley Witten has no further comment. That was one, that was soil testing 1, and then under standard number 4.
Yeah, but it was standard 4,
that was-
item, bullet C.
Right, that's the one you just discussed.
Yep.
Okay. And the next one would be,
Bullet D requested additional clarifications on the water quality unit detail.
yes,
There was an error in the printing. So we've reprinted that sheet and it's in the package that Drew just had up on screen. The dimensions were not visible, but this satisfies that.
okay, all right. That's pretty minor.
Yeah.
Then if I had to step down, you'd be, go down to standard number 8.
Yep. This is probably one of your standard conditions, but we agreed to provide the NIPD's construction general permit SWIP to the commission and a signed copy, an owner signed copy of the O&M plan 14 days, at least 14 days before construction starts.
Yeah,
It should be 8B. Looks like it's at the top of the next page.
right. So, so Horsley Witten recommends that the Department of Public Services require the applicant submit a signed copy of the SWIP to the city at least 14 days prior to commencing any disturbance activities.
And that was Will's suggested condition 9A and B.
Okay, good, good. Because this all has to get back to Lucia so that she knows
Yes.
here on the order of conditions. I'm trying not to miss anything.
Yep.
All right. Then standard 9.
O&M.
Standard 9 is that the owner hasn't signed the O&M, and that was condition 9B in Will's list.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a question on the O&M. Where do the reports? I mean, you have a log, but where does it, who gets it?
The
Conservation
long-term,
Commission, yeah,
Short-term, long-term?
you guys, it's you and Department of Public Services,
Okay, is this on a monthly or semi-annual?
semi-annual, isn't it, Karen?
in my experience, it depends on the commission's particular community's preference and how they condition it. For the long-term O&M, I've seen it a couple different ways in several different communities. For the EPA, it's maintained, the EPA construction general permit, it's maintained on site and however you guys want it copied to you during construction.
Well, it's not the during construction so much as after construction.
The long-term, yeah. So, I mean, annually is what I usually see, but
I guess I would like to see it semi-annual for the first 2 years.
Sure.
And then after that annually.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
Makes sense to me.
My concern is that nobody does anything for a year. And all of a sudden the report shows up saying nobody did anything for a year and we're swimming.
I think based on the, which would fall on the O&M plan,
Yeah.
that the maintenance and inspection of the system that is being proposed here, the manufacturers recommend that they are inspected at least twice a year.
Right. Okay.
So we certainly want to hold them to that.
Yes, the frequencies of all the maintenance requirements are outlined in the O&M in accordance with the stormwater management regs and the manufacturer's recommendations. And so regardless of the reporting requirement duration, the property owner needs to follow, if they have to clean something quarterly, they need to clean it quarterly. If you tell them they have to report it to you twice a year, they do it twice a year. You report it twice a year, but that doesn't mean they still have to follow their obligation of the O&M.
Yeah. Okay, so that was that one. Then the last one will be standard 10. The applicant has noted that an illicit discharge statement will be provided prior to stormwater discharging into the stormwater system. Horsley Witten recommends that the planning board require receipt of the statement as a condition of approval. So,
And this was also on Will's list. It was actually on the next page. It fell. I think the reason he numbered them the way he did is so that they correlated to the stormwater standards.
I see. Okay, good.
So
We're on
number
the same
10,
page.
an signed illicit discharge statement shall be provided to this department prior to the drainage system coming online. So that was a recommended or a required condition that the city engineer recommended.
Okay. So in conclusion, I guess, Horsley Witten recommends that the applicant address the few outstanding comments as part of the permit process. And I think we've just covered that.
Mhm.
But there's still, are you saying there's still some plan changes based on these that have not been done yet? Was there something about one of the details or something like that?
All of the plan changes have been made. They were made yesterday afternoon and were emailed over today to Lucia and Drew and Will and Janet
Okay.
and everyone.
But Karen, that's on the very last items that had remained.
Yes.
We had made many changes based on the November 29th Horsley Witten, most of which were somewhat clerical, but it's not as if we addressed all the stuff that we had in November just yesterday.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so that would summarize the Concom portion from Will. However, we are in on with the World Tech comments relative to site development and parking and stopping site distance on the entrance to Corwin and Linfield Street. And I bring these up. Normally, these would not be in our jurisdiction, but I think they could have effects of COMCOM issues or COMCOM concerns, depending on how these are handled. And there are probably, I think, 6 of them that kind of jump out at me. And I guess, I don't know if you're probably not prepared to speak to us on this matter because you're probably going to speak to the planning board. But if I might, through the chair.
Go ahead.
There seems to be something interesting about the parking, and that World Tech is in this study. There's some how they derive what the requirements of the parking are for this site. They're using as a guide the same kind of activities that take place on another site. Maybe because the information just isn't available in this part of Peabody. But in any case, they question about why there's so much parking provided when they don't think it may not be justified, and that they don't need as much parking. And I say that because if we don't need that much parking, then that would give us an opportunity to have more pervious surface. And have
less pervious.
I mean, yeah, right.
More pervious.
I'll give you all the more pervious you want.
We
So
want it to
it-
be, not, we want it to be grass.
Yeah, so this looks like it provides an opportunity to have more pervious area if in fact the parking is over-designed, if I could use that word. And I don't have what the responses are from World Tech on this, and what your response is to World Tech's comment. So there seems to be an area that I'm not ready to just say move forward, because the parking could be helpful to provide more pervious areas. And then there's a bunch of others relative to the driveway opening design changes. And I'm not familiar with I think an access road or something like that.
Yes.
And everything seems to be tied to stormwater, and those areas may have catch basins, and I don't know how that would affect the stormwater system that's designed here. So I'm just reaching out on World Tech's comments as how they may apply to us, and those are the things that jump out at me is the stopping, the horizontal sight distance and stopping sight distance to the intersection, to the getting to the site. If it's widened, what effects on drainage that might have, and whether or not we could have less pavement if the parking wasn't as necessary as being designed.
I think that I can speak to a couple of those issues. One being that if we can easily provide the site distances at the intersection from Corwin to Linfield Street. And there's been some discussion about altering the radius so that any kind of tractor trailer would be allowed to, or to make a better effort to stay in their own lane. That's been a big factor with respect to neighbors. We have the existing condition out there with respect to Corwin Street is that it is paved wall to wall. The radius would probably require a radius change, would require us to come to some agreement with the landowner on the left and right hand side, who happens to be the same landowner and happens to be the owner of Stonewood Grill. So we're happy to engage in discussions about making an improvement there. The bypass road is a discussion which we hope to bring to a legislative level through the Community Development and Mayor's Office, wherein we speak to the issue of trying to create an access road by purchasing the railroad bed that runs perpendicular to Corwin Street. When you're traveling up Corwin to get beyond Stall, you pass over an unused section of railroad. That land was suggested to one of the city councilors, Councilor Welton, that it may be for sale. So one of the things that we have been providing to the planning board, and presumably eventually when we get to the city council for special permit that we would be committing to, is this monetary amount that's been referenced, and that the adequacy of that amount, what that really is intended to promote and advance this study that would need to be done in order to determine whether or not pursuing purchase of that land by city and with state funds, which we all agree would be a great idea from the standpoint of traffic impact. It would mean that those other 2 or 3 users behind us would then be able to get onto this road and stay off of, but if that ever,
Linfield
stay
Street.
off Linfield Street, if that were ever to come to fruition, which we're hopeful it does because it serves us very well, that will require a completely new order of conditions to build out that road. As would, in my opinion, we're close enough to Craig's Pond that if we change the radius, the entry radius, we would need to also file with the Concom with respect to an order of conditions there. As to the amount of parking, we've been using a freight forward terminal located in East Boston, operated, the building is owned by my client, Jacob Citron, and we've been using that as a actual day in the life kind of experience where you can see where our cars come from, where they go, and we're happy to clarify with World Tech where we get our numbers from and where we get our need for parking. If the planning board, I guess, doesn't agree that that we require that much parking, then the project may well get smaller, which I guess the parking lot would get smaller. But I find that to be extremely unlikely given the fact that right now that area where we're going to propose a substantial amount of parking is comprised of the tank farms that are needing to be removed, and then those areas need to be essentially capped in accordance with previously issued AULs. So I find that there would be a very limited likelihood that our parking lot gets any smaller, and would suggest that turning radius change and or the development of the roadway would require independent and separate orders of condition.
Okay. But so you can see there are some concerns with regard to traffic that I would probably not be comfortable with closing the public hearing tonight. I think we've come a long way. I think you've satisfied just about everything, but there could be the need to have there's more potential impacts to resource areas, certainly for the intersection.
But that's not what we filed. We haven't filed changing that intersection, and if we are compelled to do so, we'll need to make an arrangement with the owner of the property on both sides and simultaneously file with the commission in order to make those changes because of their proximity to Craig's Pond.
Can I ask a question regarding the parking area for the automobiles? Can you guys make that pervious asphalt instead of impervious?
Karen, that's probably a question for you, but we did have a discussion on site with several, that must have been with counselors, and that did come up. And I think that the durability was an issue, but Karen, if you want to address that.
Durability can be an issue, but in this case, we have the flood storage system underneath the parking lot, and it's fairly shallow below the surface because it has to be provided at a certain elevation in order to, in order to provide the flood storage at the correct elevation.
Yep.
So we would, and normally when you do permeable pavement, there's a fairly substantial stone reservoir that occurs below for drainage to collect that or receive the water that comes through. It's also more typically done on flatter parking lots than this. So I guess that's my way of saying it's not an ideal candidate, but we are able to do the recharge system, which provides a lot of the benefit that you do get with permeable pavement, with potentially a longer lifespan.
probably. Okay.
Okay, so
You said no.
back to you, Chairman.
Back to me to,
Chair, did you want to open it to the public?
I guess we have a motion.
Oh, no other commissioners have a question.
I don't know. Anybody else?
I have no questions. It seems like there's been a fairly thorough peer review.
I have no question.
Okay. Have a motion to open it to the public?
Make a motion open to the public.
Second,
Seconded.
roll call.
I don't think you have to roll call, do you? It's just
I
open it
don't
to the
know.
public.
Lucia always did because it was on Zoom. Anybody opposed?
No.
Okay,
Raise hands,
raise hands.
raise hands.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, there's one person in the audience that has their hand raised to speak. I'd ask that anybody else in attendance that wishes to speak on this also raise their hand, and I'll allow them to talk. There's a Tim Donahue that wishes to speak. I'm going to unmute them right now.
I just want to advise anybody speaking, they should state their name and their address. We have it for the record.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tim Donahue. I work for Iron Tree Service. I am the representative and the certified arborist on behalf of the Gromleys regarding the tree removal at 269 Lynn Street. I've been on the meeting the entire time. My line was never unmuted, so I couldn't speak when that object came up on the list.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's because Lucia wasn't here. I apologize.
Yeah.
That was one of the first things on the agenda. And I have no idea what the request is for.
It's for removal of a silver maple that has a leader that was previously moved by someone else at a different time. That has decayed out. It has not healed properly. And now you also have the canopy of this tree is in general decline. So I think the overall feeling on this tree, in my opinion, is that it is in decline and on the way out.
Stu, excuse me. Stu, this is a different item. We shouldn't be discussing this now. We're under a public hearing, so.
Okay.
Well, I was invited to this meeting. I was told I had to be at this meeting by Lucia.
Yes, you will be able to speak when we go back to that item on the agenda. Sorry.
So
I didn't know you were here, so it was like we just
right. I mean,
forward.
I've been waiting. I'm not trying to be crude, but I've been waiting for over, I've been waiting since this meeting started at 7. I was there. No one unmuted me so I could speak when it came up on the agenda.
We can't stop in the middle of another public hearing.
So what am I to do in this scenario? That
You can just wait. When we finish this one up, we'll go right to your item. Won't make you wait beyond this item that's open right now.
okay? I appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
All right. Anybody else wish to speak on this item?
I will see that there's nobody else that seems to be raising their hands.
And say no one else is raising their hand?
There's a call-in user. Would you like me to see if they are wishing to speak?
Sure. Call-in user is muted.
I don't know if they know how to unmute themselves.
Either that or can you unmute them?
I can only ask them to unmute.
Okay.
It does not look like they know how to unmute themselves.
No.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
So is this item, is it still being reviewed by other departments?
It is.
It is. It has to be reviewed by
Other boards,
the other boards.
Okay,
Just the planning board.
okay.
We've completed construction review and we're before the planning board again with this set of comments that you saw from Will this evening. Those will be before the planning board again at their meeting of, I think it's January 8th.
Okay.
Do we get them with, there's no, nobody from the public that's wants to speak or can speak at this time, is that correct?
Mhm.
I'm not seeing anybody else that's raising their hand. I just want to clarify, Attorney Kelty mentioned January 8th. The planning board's meeting is January 6th.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
I'd like to suggest that we make a motion to continue until a planning board has reached the decision.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Raise your hands. Unanimous? So we'll move this to our January meeting. Is that correct?
Well, the petitioner has to agree to that.
right?
I think we're there. I think we're basically there, depending on how these other matters play out. And if there's a change made, it's an easy, it would be easy just to issue an order of conditions at that time to include that rather than come back with changes.
May I ask when the January hearing is? Is it the 5th?
The 6th, so that means we'd probably be the week after that. Somewhere around there.
You're the second.
You're the
Wednesday of the-
12th. Your meeting is the 12th.
Our meeting is the 12th. 12th is, I'm sorry. I get the wrong
Wednesday.
one.
Wednesday, the 12th.
Yeah.
One direction. Yeah. So if you're meeting on the 6th or the following week.
You might note that the planning board comments are predominantly based around the traffic issues we just discussed and kind of the resolution, a hopeful resolution of those, and also considering I think the kind of question is, at what time would they accept our money? I think the commission should be aware that we do need to apply for a special permit from the city council, and their rule 17 regulation number 17 suggests that I've got to be completed with the other boards before I can come there. We would respectfully request that an order issue this evening, if possible, in as much as there's a 10-day appeal period for our order. When we get to the planning board, we will then wrap things up with them at their meeting of the 6th. And it would be my expectation that we could then have our special permit application just at least accepted by the council, and we'll get hearings from the council. We'll be all the way out into February. So we're very hopeful that the board would consider issuing an order of conditions in as much as the planning board is not, if you're judging from their comments, there's no change to the physical characteristics of the facility that we're proposing as it's been proposed and modified by all of the comments that we've received to date. I don't think that there's anything that the planning board, they wouldn't move the building. They're not going to. I think the only issue that you might share with the planning board, and it probably isn't of concern to you, is our traffic pattern as we intersect. We've got our traffic going around the building one way. World Tech suggested maybe we reverse that. We think it works best for us, but that's not a deal. That's not a game changer. We could reverse it if the planning board feels that that's what they would like us to do.
Well, I think with regard to how it might affect us, I think my concerns are pinpointing the changes in geometry at the intersection of Linfield Street and Corwin Street. I don't know, and maybe as much as the access road, but I'll put that aside for now. But any drainage that might be affected by that change, I don't know where the drainage or the catch basins for Linfield Street or out in that area, where they go. And I know that the system you folks have designed for in and around the building is pretty tight. There's, I don't think there's a lot of room for changes in the hydraulics and so forth, and the modeling. And I don't know what the effects of the drainage might be by changing that driveway entrance. And that's the only reservation I have.
May I address that one?
Sure.
I appreciate your concern on that. One thing I can tell you is there is the culvert underneath Corwin Street that connects Craig Pond to Goldthwait Brook.
Mhm.
And all of our system that's subject to the notice of intent that we filed and that you're reviewing and considering the order on now is on the north side of the brook. And all the Linfield at Corwin Street intersection improvements that may occur, those are all on the south side of the brook. So there should be, by virtue of basically gravity and the barrier that is that culvert, there should be no kind of interrelation, even if we looked at it all at once.
Mhm.
In terms of a project, which we can't really do because we don't have the survey, we don't have the wetland delineation for that area, we don't have the the owner of the property is not part of this application, that's in front of you tonight. That would be a separate application with a different owner, property owner. I don't see anything about the plans for this project that would impact that Linfield Street improvement intersect. That would have to be dealt with as its own element and as its own project, quote unquote.
Okay. All right. So I'm Stu through the chair. I know we just took a motion to continue it. It sounds like these items are probably not going to affect what we're seeing, what's before us tonight. All the comments have been addressed, and Will has given his conditions that we're going to add to whatever conditions we have. I don't see why we can't close the hearing.
The chair, didn't we just take a vote to continue the
We
hearing?
did. We'd have to, I guess, take a vote to not do that and go back. I'd be okay with closing the hearing tonight.
The internet's unstable again.
I think we have the advantage of continuing it. We would have the advantage of doing some more, having more conversations with our conservation agent, and she having conversations with Will to clarify some of the information. And this is a big project. This is the second time I think we've received communications late, way past the window where they should be properly, before us in the agenda. And again, December 7th and 11/29, November 29th, it's sort of, and now we're trying to rush it so they can get things done easier, but they didn't make it any easier for us, is what I'm thinking.
Well, we
Can I speak to that?
voted to close it down. And I agree with Counselor or Commissioner Athis that I think it will require some more questions and some more answers. And I would offer to wait until Lucia gets back and Will Pollots and her have a chance to discuss this. That's my opinion.
Could I just speak to the issue of these deadlines? Do you know when your deadline is for making the January meeting? For filing to have information on the January meeting? That's tomorrow. So,
Yeah, it is.
yeah, the deadline tomorrow is tomorrow for anything that you're going to consider. I mean, it's almost impossible to meet the deadlines with this commission. We have worked extremely hard to get here. And we've had very, very capable engineers working in conjunction with Horsley Witten and Will Pollots. And Will Pollots has taken an awful lot of time to review everything we've submitted whenever it has been submitted. And we've just worked extremely hard to get here this evening. And I don't see what needs to be responded to. I mean, we've had 2, even 3 peer reviews in the sense that, you know, we've had Horsley Witten review, we'll review that, and then we respond. That gets reviewed by both Horsley Witten and Will, and we're down to this memo that says here's the appropriate conditions. And time is a killer.
If I may, I think I agree with Mike, Vice Chairman Rizzo, but at the same time, Attorney Kelty, we having all the conditions drafted and ready to, is staff able to put it together in time for the order to be put together and you know, I guess, would you be willing to be able, if we were to close the public hearing, are you flexible with a little bit of leeway on the staff getting the issue, the order out to you?
Staff always has, I believe it's as much as 30 days to actually issue the order.
I thought it was kind of like 2 weeks, but yeah.
Appeal period is 2 weeks.
The
15
appeal
days.
period is 10 business days. So it comes out to 2 weeks.
Once it's issued.
But you
Right.
have much more time to actually draft the order, and we're fine with Lucia taking whatever necessary time there is.
buddy.
I lose it again.
Is everybody frozen?
Yeah, I got frozen.
I'm moving.
No.
I don't see frozen.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, we're more than happy to afford the staff the entire time that the statute provides for them. She'll add the 26 or so, whatever the standard orders, plus these 6 conditions. But certainly she could take her time with that.
Oh, I could support that. You'd have to reconsider the vote we just took. Bring it back on the table and reconsider the vote to continue. And then we can move if you wanted to close.
Okay,
So I'll make the motion to reconsider the vote to continue.
do we have a second?
Second.
Now you need to show hands.
Anybody want to raise their hand?
Hey, this is to reconsider the vote.
Yes.
Yes.
And you raise your hand if you want to reconsider.
Yes.
Okay.
So we got,
Where's the rest of our team? Where's Karen and Amanda?
They don't have their hand up.
I don't see a hand.
I don't see a hand up either.
Okay, so then maybe they, so 1, 2, 3.
3 to 3.
I
Right?
don't have my hand up.
Okay, so there's 3 to 3. Stu, you would make you're chairman. You would have to
Make the tiebreaker,
do the tiebreaker.
become Kamala Harris.
Well, you don't have to do that.
Oh, okay. I would venture that this still has too many unanswered questions. And I haven't heard from the public at all. Is for whatever reason, the phone doesn't work or something. But I think that we owe it to the public to open this up as a public hearing at a different day, and move forward. I mean, I understand your concern, Jack, but we haven't done.
But it already had its public hearing in which we did hear from neighbors. That was back in November. And if there are questions, then ask them of us.
Well, Will Pollots came up with the conditions, correct?
Yes.
And I don't seem to have that memo in front of me, but I'm sure it's out there somewhere. Do you have that memo, Drew?
He had put it up on the screen. That's
Yeah.
correct.
I have it on my screen.
I can share the memo again. Would you like a specific page on it?
Well, that one I have.
I believe this is the memo in question.
Yeah, so the conditions, again, we don't have to draft the conditions tonight, but the conditions would be Will's 1, 2, 3, 4, his number 9 and number 10. And then planning would be.
There they are here. They're on the screen now. 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 4, 9. Which
And
comes
10,
to
and then there's a
5,
10 on the
6.
next page as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, 10.
So there's 6.
Yeah. All right.
And I would suggest that in other projects, if there's a discrepancy, if the planning board asks for changes, we would be obligated to come back and amend if in the unlikely occurrence that something happened in that way. But sounds like from Jack's summary, that doesn't sound likely.
Yeah.
So.
Is there any improvements being made to Corwin? It's outside of conservation, but just general improvements to the neighborhood?
Not directly to Corwin unless there's a necessity to just resurface it at this point. We are making certain improvements to the pavement right in front of our place. It's pretty cracked and kind of decrepit. So yes, we are fixing
Corwin's
that
pretty
area.
You go past your area.
I think there's an area past us that there isn't even pavement.
Well, but
I think. I'm not sure of that.
I don't know, but I know that my car gets a lot of bounce if I go way back there, and there's a ton of trucks parked back there. So, so you're suggesting you'll take care of improving Corwin Street up until your property?
Right in front of our property is where we absolutely must do it. And then, if we're asked by other parties, but to date, we haven't been asked to resurface anything beyond even in front of.
If you're going to change the entrance to Corwin Street off Linfield, you'll be resurfacing that too.
That's correct. And that's what I suggested. If that were to be a necessity, then I believe that would require a filing with the commission.
And separately.
Yes.
That's why I support us being able to close the hearing tonight.
Okay, I will go along with you guys. I'll break the tie and say, let's close the hearing.
Okay.
That was to reconsider the vote.
Oh,
And
right,
second.
that was to reconsider.
That was a reconsider the vote.
That was right. Okay, so that's passed
Now we'll
now. Okay, so
consider
now
the-
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Do I get a second?
Second,
All in favor? We got 4 against 2. Is that what I see?
3.
3.
Now
Four.
it's Karen and Andrea. right?
Karen is from VHB.
I
Yeah,
mean,
Karen. Amanda's, I don't
Amanda.
see Amanda's hand.
Amanda.
I have my hand, Mike, Bruce, and Mike Vivaldi.
Yes, 2 mics, Bruce and yourself.
Yeah, that's 4. And the ones with no hands is Arthur and Amanda. Right?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, so we voted to close the public hearing.
Yes.
Well, I don't know what the next step is. It's,
I'd like to make a motion to issue an order of conditions.
okay, we have a second,
second,
okay? And
Yeah.
the order of conditions is based on Will's memo, right?
Standard condition.
Well,
Yeah.
it'd be-
1 through 50.
Can we have discussion on the motion once it's done? There's discussion allowed, right?
Yeah, well, Lucia can finalize, but I would say that the conditions would be items 1 through 50. And then I think we need to add checklist B. Checklist B was because we're in the floodplain.
Am I making notes or or does somebody want me to?
Yeah, if you could, Mike.
Sure. Just give me a minute then.
Okay.
Just through the chair, just the issue is the amount of parking, especially the number of trucks that are being parked there. I don't understand why they're gonna be 121 trucking spaces. Is this gonna be also a storage, a truck storage facility, and as well as a transport facility or docking facility? Are there gonna be trucks there all the time? Permanently? Are they gonna be selling trucks out of the
No, there's
parking
no-
lot?
No, there's no actual storage, but can I say that there would be times that there'd be no trucks? Yes, there would be times there'd be no trucks. Will there be trucks on site overnight? Not usually. There could be a handful of trucks that are there overnight. But generally speaking, no, it's not a truck storage facility.
So why do you need 59 truck parking spaces in addition to the loading docks?
Those are somewhat tenant driven by their need with respect to the number of trucks that they have under their command. Unlike some of the other storage facilities or truck terminals in the city of Peabody, the forward freight controls their drivers such that they are not free agents arriving to and from the site at any time. This is a discussion we've been having with the planning board about the amount of control as to, when our trucks will be in the rush hour or if they will not be. And forward freight, freight forward does control their drivers with respect to those drivers of their employees. So yes, they need that many trucks to handle the amount of freight that they transfer from the airport and docks to out to here and then redistributed again.
So there's again, I just don't understand if it's a loading facility, why you need to have permanent trucking spots 59 of them, which is about half. I'm just looking at that as a lot of, a lot of cement, a lot of, we have a very, right there in the river, right there, and you're gonna be parking another 60 trucks in addition to those 60 that are gonna be used for the business going in and out. So I think, and you're saying they're not gonna be parked overnight? Or rarely
You would
parked?
ask the specific question about whether whether it was a truck storage facility and
Right.
whether, yeah,
If
no.
they're parked more than 24 hours, it's almost like there'd be a store.
That's correct. There'd be no truck parked for 24 hours, and I would suggest there'd be no truck for even as many as 7 hours. But that's kind of a guess on my part in terms of where did I come up with the number 7? Just because they stay in action and they're actively in use most of the day. We do not have a overnight trucking capacity or we do not have a overnight trucking need at this particular facility, which is from the neighborhood perspective a good thing.
Right. But you still need 121 spaces for the trucks,
Yes.
but only 62 docks. So that potentially you could have trucks waiting for the docks to be opened up.
Yes, and then there's also the driver's cars are also, there's an area for those too.
The driver's cars?
Yes.
I thought that was separate. No, that's not, I thought that was a separate 50 parking spaces for.
Oh, I guess, Karen, we have given them a specific place.
Yes, there is a specific lot for employee vehicles.
Could you say that again, please?
There is a lot dedicated for employee cars, employee vehicles,
An
which is
area,
up in the
right?
front there. Yeah. I mean, one thing I would say is, as the planning board works through these comments with respect to how the justification for the parking count, one thing that we can, I think, agree on based on the level of peer review that we received and the plans and reports that were submitted is that, not only does the project result in a benefit to the site from keeping it the way it is today, through the addition of a stormwater treatment system and all those elements that don't exist now. And also, there is a reduction of pavement and paved surfaces on the surface in our proposed plan based on the way it is now. So we're reducing impervious cover in the future condition from what exists right now on the site. And we're doing so in compliance with the DEP stormwater management regulations. So I think you can feel comfortable that we're meeting the performance standards that are, that you're required to hold us to for the project.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but again, you could have so much more open or green pervious space if you didn't have 120 parking spaces for trucks. That there's never going to be 120, like you're telling me there's never going to be 120 trucks on the property, which I hope not. So that's what I'm saying.
Can I ask an operational question? If the employees, the truck driver.
Did you mute? Or you
No,
frozen?
I didn't mute.
Okay.
The truck drivers are employees, correct?
Yes.
And they're going to bring their personal automobiles to a designated lot and park. And they're going to go get into one of the trucks and drive away. Correct?
Yes.
So there will be trucks overnight. They won't magically appear at 8 in the morning.
Is Karen, is Kevin here?
He's
At this
muted,
meeting?
but he's here.
Yes,
I
am here.
believe that he is.
Kevin, can you speak to that issue? I mean, are there going to be 120 trucks sitting there? No, there will not, correct?
Correct.
You're
Yeah,
trying to
there
look
will-
for, I'm sorry.
No, there will not be 120 trucks. You know, it's, and they're gonna be moving in and out of this site, moving material, moving product.
But overnight, you're gonna have some trucks sitting there.
I had said no, but I may have misspoken. Will there be trucks overnight? Are there out in East Boston? Are there trucks overnight?
Yes, there are.
Okay, all right. So yes, there are likely to be some trucks overnight, yes.
And going back to Commissioner Rath's question, does that make this a truck storage facility? Because it's overnight.
No, I don't think that's what makes this a truck storage, but it may well be why the building commissioner has placed us in a truck terminal category requiring a special permit versus warehousing. So we are here because of our proximity to the wetland, and then
Right.
we are going to eventually be for the council as a truck terminal.
Regarding the wetlands, and that's all we can, at this point, concern ourselves with, I'm still concerned that in some way Goldwaith Brook will be adversely affected. And I mean, you've given me all the information, Karen, to suggest that I shouldn't worry about it, but we know that things will happen. And I'm looking at some way to, if something happens, the operator will be responsible for fixing it. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yes, but meaning something happens to what? Something,
Let's say a truck spills something and it goes over.
oh, sure.
Yeah,
That's
is that-
absolutely our requirement, and if there were damage during our build out or damage during our ownership, the Public Services Department, if there were damage to the walls of the brook, I'm sure the Public Services Department, as you've stated it earlier, would press upon us their need to fix it. So, yeah.
So
Okay.
where are we at? We're closed down.
Okay,
the
I was,
public-
I was going through the conditions.
Yeah.
This should be quick, which basically is gonna be the conditions that Will has put
Mhm.
into the memo, in addition to items 1 through 50. Checklist B, which, because it's in floodplain, flood storage, checklist B, items 1 and 2, which speak about signage for parking, and that trash containers need to be tied down. Checklist D, because we're in the proximity of Goldwaith Brook. And checklist K. Bordering land subject to flooding, the compensatory storage area shall be constructed prior to any filling of land subject to flooding. Is that okay with you, Jack? Is that gonna be a
Yes.
problem?
Nope.
Okay,
I'd like
That's
to
it.
add a couple of orders.
okay,
I'd like spill containment underneath any of like stationary vehicles used for the business. And then also the owners be kept the responsibility to keep debris out of the abutting wetlands.
did you get that, Mike?
I did, and
Is that an issue?
No, no.
Okay, all right. So I think we're all set.
Okay,
Hopefully,
is
Lucia.
that a motion then, Mike?
Yeah, so that was the order, so a motion to accept the order,
So
And a sec-
moved.
Okay,
raise hands. 1,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5.
5, 4, 4. I just see 4.
Amanda had her hand up, didn't you?
Oh,
yeah.
she did. Okay. I didn't see it. 5. Okay.
Okay. And Lucia needs to know who the people are, Mike, so,
Right.
Yep. Everyone but Arthur.
okay,
Yeah.
very good.
All right.
Thank you
we-
very much, commissioners. Thank
Are
you.
we done with this?
We're done with this one.
Okay.
Go to the next one. The tree.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to, yeah.
Go
I'm
back to the
sorry.
tree.
You're the chairman, go back to the.
Go back to the tree. Yes.
Mr.
269 Lynn Street.
Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
You're recommending the tree come out, correct?
That is correct, sir. Basically, the tree had a previous leader removed that did not heal properly and now has a pretty decent sized cavity of decay developing, along with the fact that the crown of the tree, which is the highest point on the tree, is showing signs of decline, which is an indicator for the overall health of the tree. If this tree were to have a failure, it would undoubtedly be within striking distance of the house, which could lead to property damage, injury, or loss of life.
Have you documented this to Lucia?
Yes, sir. She was the one who suggested that I be at this meeting.
So you need a motion to remove, correct?
Yes,
I believe so. Yes, sir. I'm not familiar with how Peabody does this. I've never sat in on one of these meetings before, so I apologize for my ignorance.
No, it's fine. So I apologize for having you wait. Do we have
I'll
a
make a motion
remove?
to
What-
have the tree removed.
What property is this?
269 Lynn Street.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
I have no problem with them removing the tree. I think, like to know, based on how the proximity to the water, I'd like to know what, I'd like to make sure that he's not going to excavate to remove the stump, that the stump will be ground, and again, because of the proximity to the water, that if they are going to remove it, if they are going to grind the stump, I'd like some type of, it's, even though it'll be cleaned up, generally they don't clean up on the same day. So I'd like some kind of erosion controls in that area with a silt fence, so that half the stump grindings don't go into the pond.
Do we have to grind the stump?
don't have.
we-
have to
I don't
leave
want
it.
them to pull it. I don't want them
Can't
to
pull
pull it.
We have
Okay.
no plan on excavating. We are scheduled to grind the stump the day of the removal. Based upon the location of the tree and their fence, we are going to utilize the crane that we're using to remove the tree to bring the stump grinder into the area where the tree is, grind the stump, and then use the crane to remove the stump grinder.
I understand that. What about the grindings?
Bear with me for 1 second here.
Generally, you guys don't remove the grindings the same day.
If it was a condition of getting it approved, we could certainly have it done that day.
Okay, so again, unless you're going to remove the grindings the same day, then, and I remember, you're gonna remove grindings, you're gonna bring in soil, you're gonna have to put some kind of erosion control down. I mean, that's a big stump, so there's gonna be a lot of grinding.
Do the grindings add up to a lot? It adds
Oh,
up-
yeah.
Well, you can basically, if you were whatever size stump you have, you can almost double the size of the stump, and that's what you'll have for grindings. We do have it slated that we are to remove the grindings as well. We typically remove them to be level with grade.
I understand that, but that's fine, except that then the owner has to bring in topsoil, because it's gonna, I mean, you can bring it on, you can remove it to grade, but there's just grindings, it's not soil.
Right.
Anyway,
So
again, I listen, I completely understand all I'm saying is, if as part of the conditions, if it's up to me, part of the conditions, it's just real simple. put down a silk fence around the area to contain it. And with a silt sock, and then they can sit as long as you want. I mean, you're gonna remove the grindings and until the owner grades it, put some seed down and reseeds it. It's
Sure.
just, it's really close. Listen, I look at the pictures, it's really close to the water.
Absolutely,
not
it's
a
right
big
on the
deal.
water.
Yeah, so I just something that should be done, that's all, no big deal.
Okay, what if the stump were to remain left on site, not ground, then we're okay to do the removal and leave the stump there?
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
I'll present it to the homeowner because obviously adding the silt net and the bringing in topsoil, those are added expenses. So I'll present that to them and see which way they want to go with it. And then if they decide we still want to grind the stump and remove the grindings, we will add on for the cost of getting the silt net and bringing some topsoil and putting some seed down to try to get it all wrapped up in one day.
Yeah, I'm not making a big deal out of, it looks like there's there's a fence on two sides of it. So it shouldn't be a big deal to, and again, I'm not saying you got to do the whole yard. You just got to get it around that so we don't have any erosion. So again, that's the kind of location right there. There's a wall there too. So there'd be a drop into the pond. And that's the kind of thing, you get a big rainstorm, you get a big, all the grindings will end up in the pond.
Oh, no, I understand what you're saying, and I'm happy to abide by whatever conditions are put forth. I'll present it to the homeowner. And they may decide to leave the stump altogether.
Okay.
You need to notify Lucia in advance of any, once you're all set, whether you have your silt fence and silt sock in place or not. You need to give Lucia an advance notice, a day or two. I forget what the rule is, what our policy is, but make sure she knows in advance so she can come out and make sure everything's in place that needs to be in place the day you take the tree down.
Absolutely. We were actually originally slated to remove it yesterday, but I wasn't. She told me about the meeting in November, but it wasn't made clear that I had to attend the meeting, so I did not. So we have rescheduled the removal. I believe it's for, I want to say mid-February, I think February 14th or so.
Okay, there's plenty of time.
My only other question I had is if we did remove the grindings and then bring topsoil and seed in on the same day, that probably wouldn't work well because it'll be the middle of winter at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll figure it out. I'll present it to the homeowner and see which way they want to go with it. I will certainly report back to Lucia.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So I guess we're done with 5 and 6 also. Yes?
Yeah.
May I ask one last question? So
sure.
is that approved at this point in time?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time, folks.
You're welcome.
Anyway,
I think we're on to items.
Why would 5 and 6 be accomplished as well?
Because
Corwin Street.
it's part of Corwin Street.
But wouldn't it be for previous project?
You guys already voted to friggin' not to go ahead and go.
But I just figured that these certificates would be for previous, something that a previous projects, not for this notice of intent.
It's too
Right.
late now.
yeah, don't they have to do a lot of things before we can do the certificate of compliance?
Yeah, Lucia is recommending we don't vote on items 5 and 6. Is the petitioner here still?
I'm here, but these were filed by Matt Snell. Is Matt showing on your?
Mr. Snell is here, and I can unmute him now if the chair would like.
Oh, no, well, you're going out of order. Stu, you're going out of order because you're going to bypass number 4.
I thought we did 4. Oh, okay,
No.
we didn't. I'm sorry. Number 4 is, let me just read it real quick. Continued public hearing on a notice of intent submitted by William Manuel, Wetlands and Land Management, Inc. for Regency Realty and Trust. Alfred DeMambro is the trustee. Proposed project is the construction of 2 buildings and the site improvement, paving, utilities, etc., in the riverfront North River. The property is known as 1113 Wallace Street, 1A, Peabody, Mass. And it says the item is continued until January 12.
I need to vote on it, but yes,
Okay.
requesting to continue. Right?
Well, I think,
Motion.
I
through
think
the
it was
chair-
already continued.
I think it was.
To the chair, I think this was the one we said we needed a site visit. And I think the site
Oh,
visit got
that-
canceled.
That's right, Michael.
And so we need to schedule another site visit. The weather looks like it's gonna be good next week, maybe sometime mid to later week, to Monday and Tuesday. I got some work happening here at my house on Monday and probably Tuesday, so maybe mid to later of the week would be okay for me.
Wednesday?
Well, how about Thursday?
Okay.
But but
The applicant here?
yeah, is the applicant here?
I would not know who the applicant is. I don't see a
Applicant is
Mr.
either
I don't see a Mr.
William Emanuel or Alfred DeMambro.
Yeah, there is none in there unless there's someone in the audience wishes to raise their hand to speak. I do not see them in attendance.
So I think we should make the decision. I think we should, Lucia's suggesting that if somebody doesn't show up, that we should definitely schedule a time. So if you want to schedule something for Thursday.
Thursday's good.
But it gets dark early, so what's,
You gotta be there by 3.
you said you'd go with me, Bruce, right?
3?
3
Three.
o'clock for everyone?
3 would be good for me.
I'm not able to make it, but
I'll go.
I'll
Okay,
go. Okay.
Amanda?
all right,
I can't make it. I gotta work till 4. I wouldn't be able to be there till 4.
yeah. Okay, all right,
All right.
so now we got something scheduled. We'll talk to Lucia, she'll know that, and we'll go from there. So at least we schedule something.
I also think that the commission should make a formal vote on this continuance, is accept the request and vote on the continuance.
I think it was already continued, but I'd be glad to vote on it again.
I think it was
It says-
continued until January. I think it was
Yeah.
continued.
That was in the agenda says the item was
Continued from the last, did we continue from the November meeting till January or? was
Yes.
it-
So,
I
Yeah.
think so.
Okay, my misunderstanding. Okay,
No, it's fine. It's just that we want to do a site visit before then,
yeah,
so we
Okay.
will. When's our party? The
Next-
15th?
next Wednesday.
Next
yeah.
Wednesday, okay.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that makes it the 15th, okay.
right.
All right, just don't want to confuse them. Go from Wallace Street to the party, that's okay. Are we on to item 5 and 6? Certificates of compliance,
Right, and Lucia's recommended we don't vote on those.
right. So we have a motion to not vote, or a motion to approve and just say no?
Mr.
How do you do
Chairman,
that?
my apologies. My internet just kind of went out there for a second, so I missed. Have you moved on to?
We're on
15.
item 5 and 6, looking for
Okay.
certificates of compliance.
There is a Mr. Snell. I believe Attorney Snell is in attendance. Would you like me to unmute him?
Sure. Can
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Matt Snell. I'm an attorney from Nutter, McLennan and Fish. I'm here on behalf of Stall USA, the owner of 13 Corwin. Just a little background before we get moving forward. You know, we're here kind of on a parallel path with the project that you just approved this morning. My client is obviously going to be selling the property to Cargo Ventures, and we're here tonight. We're requesting kind of an administrative matter to clear up the title. There are two old orders of conditions from the 1990s that authorized the construction of certain of the improvements that exist today on the property, as well as the demolition of improvements that previously existed going back to the 1800s. And for whatever reason in the history, when the buildings were completed and COs issued, COCs weren't issued. But in speaking with Lucia, because the new work that's you've just approved really supersedes everything that exists out there and will result in the complete redevelopment of the property, beneficial stormwater treatment, reduction in impervious areas, increased flood storage compensation, and things that the old orders have basically lapsed and are superseded, and thus we would request the certificate of compliance to close the loop in the title and close those out and move forward with the new work that you've approved. I do understand that Lucia had a concern that she didn't want you to approve our COCs until the appeal period and things on the previous order had expired. Obviously, you want that to be final and moving forward, which I think is why you have a recommendation that you not have a vote tonight. You know, as an alternative, I would put forward that you could vote to approve it with the condition that they don't actually issue until such time as the appeal period runs on the other. And maybe that saves you hearing us again next month and us coming back next month. But I leave that open to your discussion. And happy to answer any other questions.
Through the chair,
Go ahead.
I would move to continue these two items.
Breaking up.
Seconded. Or did you make a motion?
I didn't hear the motion. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I make a motion that we don't vote on this tonight, that we continue this on
Okay.
next meeting.
And Amanda seconded.
Yep.
Correct.
Raise the hands. Okay, unanimous.
Okay.
We'll see you next month.
We will. Thank you so much.
Have a good holiday.
You too. Have a good
Thanks.
party next week.
Thanks. Item 7.
Continue to May.
It's been continued to May. That's 160 Main Street.
Right.
It was already voted to continue?
Correct. There's no motion needed according to what
Right.
we were given.
Yep, I see that.
Looks like Stuart's internet might have went out there.
What is he on, like some? Let's see.
Stu, you're muted.
and my internet went down. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're back up.
We're done with 7
Yeah,
and we're into 8.
yeah.
Violation order to M&R Trucking and Paving for the alleged violation, washing fleet trucks with soap in the riverfront, draining the water contents directly into the river with no treatment or permission from local commission or stormwater committee. The address is known as 119 Foster Street. Is you know,
There's besides Attorney Kelty, there's one other member, a Michael Wood. Would you like me to unmute them?
sure, he's the owner. Michael, you're muted.
Hello,
Hello, Michael.
good evening.
Good evening. It looks like you've been asked to show up because of a violation order of washing trucks with soap in a riverfront area. I don't know what to say about this one.
Student, they need to announce their name and address.
Okay. Michael, name and address. Can you hear me? No.
Mr. Wood, are you able to hear us?
Oh, he's gone.
Looks like he's still in attendance. I mean,
Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
but Michael Wood disappeared.
Scared him off.
There he is.
There he is. He's
There he is.
back, but he needs to unmute himself.
Mr. Wood, you should be able to unmute yourself at this point. Oh, there we go.
Yep.
Are you there, Michael?
Yes, I am. I'm here. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I was saying you're before us for a violation of washing your trucks in a waterfront area. My understanding is that you've been doing this forever and you like to keep your trucks clean. The problem is that from what I've heard, and again, Lucia was the one that tells me these things and she's not here, so it's kind of hearsay, but she said that she spoke to you and you've been doing the washing of your trucks and maintaining them on your site for a long time. And the dirt that comes off of your trucks does flow right into the river untreated. And that's the concern. The issue, I've heard the issue before is you were using Dawn dishwashing detergent or something. And it turns out that even though it's good for geese and ducks, it's not good for the environment. So if you can do your washing in a different area than the waterfront, I would appreciate it. Anybody else have anything to ask or say?
I just want to know, is the area that he's washing the trucks paved or unpaved?
To my knowledge, it's unpaved.
It's
Mike?
paved. It's paved area.
It's paved.
Yes.
Right, then the water will run right into the stream. Is there any way you can bring your vehicles to a grassed area and do it?
My whole yard is a paved area down there.
Is what?
My whole area is paved.
Right. So there's no way you can bring your vehicles to a grassy or unpaved area to wash the truck. The grass being a filter, so it tends to take care of the dirt.
That's what he's saying.
How about,
Well,
what about a substitute for, to wash it with? Is there something other than,
Well, I could,
something that's not detrimental to the resource area? There's some other
I could
product
wash it
you
with-
can make?
I could wash it with like Simple Green. There's a chemical, a detergent, Simple Green Oxy solvent that you can wash the trucks with. It's safe to the environment and everything.
I think we need to make sure that we're just using a low phosphate detergent, which I believe the Simple Green is.
Yes, it is.
I've looked it up for my own vehicles. So I believe that will make a huge difference.
Well, the other concern is that as you wash off the dirt from your vehicles, be them on the outside or into the bed of the truck, that dirt just runs into the storm drains or into the river directly. And that can clog storm drains.
No, come on.
Yeah,
Be realistic.
okay. I mean, that's the problem, is like there's no filter for the dirt.
All I'm
And
doing is washing my truck, just like if you wash your car at home. I just wash the outside. I'm not washing the inside of the beds right there. I'm just washing the cabs of the truck. That's all I'm doing.
But you're near a riverfront. Are you on the riverfront?
yeah,
So that's the problem.
Analyzed.
So if I use like the Simple Green solvent or something and just do it, it's just like if you were at your house washing and it goes down the street into a storm drain. I'm not doing anything to pollute anything.
the problem is not the problem comes up that it's not the intent or what it's like this information becomes critical. It's important today because we just know more information. At this point, I'll say, yeah, let's use Simple Green, but I would offer that you sweep out your trucks and get rid of the debris without dumping it, without using water, because that would just carry it to places you don't want it to go.
I don't get rid of any debris or anything that's in my trucks down there.
How do you wash the bed? Just wash it?
No, I don't wash the inside of the bed. I'm just washing the cab of the truck. I don't wash the insides of the bed.
You don't wash the beds where you carry the dirt?
No. There's no sense to. No, I don't wash any of that. No.
All right, then I would suggest we use Simple. Move on. Anybody have any objection?
The use of what?
Simple Green, a different size, different solution, a different detergent than Dawn.
Well, why don't we have Luther recommend something if something does exist?
I would recommend personally, we have the environmental engineer just to get it so you have it from somebody who is supposed to know about this. From what Lucia tells me, and I think we can go look at it, she says there isn't, the problem with Dawn or with using products that have high phosphate is it adds algae bloom. And there is, I guess, an area downstream where we see excessive or new growth of plants. So Simple Green create that problem, I guess that's fine. But we probably should hear from Will Stansfield as to what his opinion is.
I had Bill Stansfield down there a week ago. I had a meeting with him, and Bill told me there was nothing that he saw that I was doing anything wrong, and he was supposed to send a memo to Lucia, but I don't know if he did. And I was supposed to meet with Lucia Monday morning, and she called it and canceled out because she had a personal emergency.
All right, I'm not gonna worry about this one per se. We'll take it up with Lucia when she returns. And if there's a letter from Bill Stansfield, she'll have it and she'll forward it to us. Okay,
All right, thank you very much.
okay, anybody have anything else to say?
Nope,
No?
I'm good.
Okay. Moving on to item 9. I'm not even gonna bother reading this one. It's been on the agenda forever. And I've been calling and writing to the city solicitor so we can find out who owns the property that the property owner at 60 Warren Street affected, okay? And the city solicitor has not come back with any information at all, nor has they responded. So I'm gonna continue this until January and see if, in the meantime, the area that was, I'll say, I want to say defaced, that's all grassed in and growing and the wall still stays. As shaky as that wall is. So I'm not, I'm convinced that the guy did whatever he did in good intention, but I still need to know who owns the land. And if you look at the city's assessor's map, it says unknown. So this one? Nope. All right, then a motion to adjourn?
You got minutes?
Minutes.
Oh, minutes. Lucia did
I will also mention that. I'll also mention that Attorney Kelty is still here, and he did reach out to me, stating that he would speak in other items.
Is he offering cookies?
If you were in person, I would.
Oh, thanks.
I can't deliver them to everyone's house.
Why not?
I just wanted a moment to speak to a situation that has arisen down at 47 Tremont. That's the parcel of land being developed by Bob Danisco. There was one of the lots was sold and intended to build the one that fronts on right on Tremont Street. It fronts on that lot was sold to Ahmad Farhat. He has not yet begun his work. He will need to file a new order of conditions in as much as the order of conditions for that entire area has expired. In speaking with Lucia some months ago, when we were reviewing 49 Tremont, which is the third of 3 lots down there, which was subject to the order of conditions, which was 55801. He has filed an order, a request for determination of applicability. I'm sorry, we filed an ANRAD. And in that regard, we utilized the ANRAD by stating in it that Mr. Bonfiglio, who's the now owner of the very last lot, would continue the project in accordance with the expired order of conditions. So we wouldn't be changing anything. In the meantime, Danisco has, I'm filing tomorrow a request for a certificate of compliance, and Chris Mello will provide an as-built plan demonstrating, the level of compliance with the original order of conditions. So to get to the point, Mr. Bonfiglio, who is that third lot owner, the smallest lot owner, he is attempting to get a sign off from the Conservation Commission on the issuance of a foundation permit, which he would like to get in based on weather. And that was agreed to by Lucia and I, that I would file an ANRAD saying I intend to, that our expectation would be that we get a negative determination based on the fact that he's going to build in conjunction with the old plan, which is the plan I filed with that ANRAD. My question is, given the Lucia and I talked about perhaps signing off on the foundation permit so that Mr. Bonfiglio could move forward in a timely seasonal fashion. And Lucia said, I really don't have the authority. What if the board were to say that we have to file a new notice of intent? Well, my answer to that was, we'll file a new notice of intent. My expectation is that the board will probably say, as long as you're going to build in accordance with the plan that was previously approved, which is what is occurring, and Mr. Bonfiglio has the obligation of doing the plantings that are around the open portion of the brook, that if you recall this, there was one or two little sections of brook that are open on this property. So I've filed an ANRAD, I'm sorry, I've filed a request for determination of applicability based on the building and construction continuing in accordance with the old expired order. Mr. Danisco is filed, or it's filing tomorrow, a request for a certificate of compliance, which will be on in hopefully January, but it might be premature in January. But I wondered if the commission would authorize the sign off on the pouring of the foundation, since the foundation is being poured in accordance with the old order, which is what we're saying we intend to follow going forward.
Unfortunately, I think it has to be on the agenda, doesn't it?
Yes.
What does?
Everything you just mentioned, this particular
Oh,
property.
those are all upcoming matters on the agenda. That's correct. But the question I was hoping the commission would address would be, if you're likely to accept the filing of this ANRAD that says we're going to build in accordance with the expired order, then it seems to me we're probably in a position where we could sign off on the foundation.
We don't have any information before us to see if we are likely to do that.
Okay, all right.
You probably are, Jack. I'm just saying, it's like.
That's okay.
Just because it's Christmas time,
That's what I was hoping. I always like the meetings very close to Christmas, but.
That was a good try, though.
All right. Well, thank you.
Happy holiday, Jack.
Thank you.
Sorry, my internet dropped, but I'm back.
Do you have Wi-Fi or what do you have?
I
You
have
must
what?
have RCN.
RCN. It's
Yeah.
RCN. And I'm
It's
thinking
the
of
worst.
I'm thinking of getting it hardwired instead of using our, Wi-Fi. But
You try that dial-up service.
I can use my cell phone better. Is anybody have anything else to say tonight?
Do you have minutes, Stu?
And approve the minutes.
Oh, I thought we did that. I'm sorry. Jack interrupted us. That's right. Motion to approve minutes from October 13 and October 13.
In November 17th, right?
Well, she said she's drafting it here.
This is draft, yeah.
Yeah. But we do have them from October 13.
So moved.
Second,
Seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion to adjourn?
I'll make that
Yes.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Bye. See you next week.
You'll
See you next week.
See you guys, see you next week.